So as I was saying before the video did I don't know what on the camera, the water is really hot, so even with the gloves it gets to the point that I can't even keep my hands in with the gloves, and that you want that hot water. That hot water is going to dissolve the lanolin. You want to make sure that you don't leave the water, or you leave your fleece in for too long where the water cools down. Got a little bit of fleece that's kind of caught on the glove. Because what happens is when it cools down, the lanolin will stick again, and that the water temperature, it gets too cool, the lanolin's going to redeposit. When it redeposits onto your fleece, it's not going to redeposit nicely, and it can be more difficult to get the lanolin off afterwards. So we're setting the timer for 20 minutes and we will be back. Okay, so it has been another 20 minutes, this time for the rinse. And again, we're going to repeat the process that we did when we took out our stuff for the first time on our scour. There's a little bit of soap you can see kind of in here that's releasing, and that if you find that you're having problems with getting the soap to get out of your fleece, what you can do is on a rinse, you can put in white vinegar into your water. That will help release the soap. Along with that, it also helps to correct your pH, which some people find that to be helpful. Sometimes I do that, and that a lot of times I just go ahead and I do my rinses, and most of my soap does get out. Again, you can see that there's more dirt, and that's releasing. It's a little harder with the black here to see that, and slowly the fleece is getting cleaner. You're still going to have small pieces of VM and that are going to be in your fleece. You might have some dirt that's locked into the tips, and that's all going to come out when you go further into your processing, and it'll come out easier with the lanolin out. So again, just kind of let it drain until it goes and it doesn't have a lot of water coming out, and then dump it into the salad spinner. And then just rearrange that a little bit, and I saw there was a little bit of fleece that was kind of floating off on its own, a lock that came loose. We'll put that in the salad spinner. And that I tend to also check just to make sure second cuts I find will release and will come out above the colander. And so I always make sure in my tub I have a strainer, and that important because you can see actually down in there is some fleece that has caught, and as you've noticed on my tub edge on the back, I have a collection of pieces that have let loose that I've cleaned out of the strainer, and that. So this, you could go and you could dump it outside, but pretty much most of the dirt, the lanolin and that is out of it, so I just dump the bucket. And we'll rinse out the buckets. I always make sure I rinse my dish pans between each use, and we're going to spin the fleece and get the excess water out. All right, in just a moment here. Okay, so did my first spin, and if we look, the water in here, you can see that it's still kind of dirty, but it's not as bad as the first time. And that, so we're going to dump that, and then back into the spinner, and we're going to spin it some more. Usually I go, and as I'm spinning, I'm also filling up my dish pans, and that saves time and kind of multitask, make it a little more streamlined on the process. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to spin out the water on these two batches, get these dish pans filled, and we're going to put it back in again for our second rinse. Okay, so the fleeces have been spun out. I don't know why my camera is, sorry. The fleeces have been spun out. They've been put in for a second rinse. I find most of the time, most of my fleeces do well with just 2 rinses, 1 scour. And that, it takes out most of the lanolin. Sometimes it takes out a little too much. But there are things that can be used, especially like when you're combing, and that to go in to keep the static down. Hair conditioner, and that will help. And that you could actually take hair conditioner and you could put it into a rinse, dissolve it in, and then kind of just, you know, to condition the fleece a little bit. There are products that you can buy. Unicorn Fiber has a fiber rinse, and that, which I have used before, and it does work well, but I myself really don't care for the smell of this. It's got a to me, it's just got some kind of weird chemical smell that I myself really don't care for. The other thing I have been doing recently is for my, especially for when I'm going and I'm combing, is I have mixed, I've taken fabric softener and watered it down with water. And I put also a little bit of rubbing alcohol in to my mixture to help make it dry faster. And I shake that up in a little mist spray bottle, and I spray it onto my fleece before I go to comb it on my locks and stuff. And that seems to have worked really well. It softens up the wool a little bit. It keeps it from being too staticky. And with the fabric softener, you don't have to worry about, like with olive oil. There's some recipes that call for like olive oil. You don't have to worry about it going rancid. I've also used baby oil or mineral oil before in combing milk recipes, and that works too, but it's real easy to get those to be a little too much oil, and then it gives like a really oily feeling when you're spinning. And the fabric softener really doesn't have that much of a residue that I can feel, and that but like I said, it gives me really good control of my fiber. So these are in the rinse. We're going to let them sit for another 20 minutes, and we'll see if these have come out clean enough or if we need to do a final rinse. A couple other things on fleeces that are really muddy. I've had some that I've had sheep where that they were loving playing in the mud, and like the tips are just coated in mud. I found that, you know, if I have a fleece that's really dirty, it's got a lot of dirt into the fiber, what I'll do is I do a cold soak, and I will let it soak for at least a couple of hours, if not overnight. That helps to release the dirt out of the fiber, and it makes it easier for cleaning. And again, if you do that, that soak, you don't really want to dump that down your drain. And that I've had it where I've had just like a film of just mud, silt that develops in the bottom of my pans. However, that water, if you don't put any chemicals in it, you don't put any soap in it, and you just do a cold soak, what you can do with that is to take and you can dump that onto your plants outside, and it's basically like a fertilizer. So we're going to let this sit for 20 minutes, and we're going to come back and we're going to see where we're at.